Okay, so let's go ahead and get to our guest on the line. Kelly, are you with me?
Hey, Paco. Morning. How you doing?
Going on, man? Just waking up not too long ago, starting the day off, trying to get it going.
Yeah. Hey, well, I got to compliment you second day in a row here that you're on the media. While you were talking about the media trying to paint Ron Paul, I was noticing an ABC News report about the Missouri, the St. Charles caucus, which ended up being a disaster for the GOP. But of course, the ABC painted the Ron Paul fans as a shouting match. Oh, they started it. Well, what happened was the St. Charles caucus. It was over delegates, of course, and the chair, his name was Brian Spencer. He basically had a slate of delegates, and then he appointed a chairperson, and he basically closed down the caucus. You can't do that. There's three violations here. One, you have to have the delegates elected. Number two, you have to vote. You have to first appoint a chairman and a new one. And then thirdly, in order to close a caucus, you have to have two-thirds vote. So it was quite the uproar. And so a couple gentlemen, Ron Paul supporters, Brent Safford and Kenneth Souter, they brought with them a parliamentarian from Missouri who was an expert in Robert's rules, and out in the parking lot, they explained this caucus is still going. They didn't shut it down, so they started having a caucus in the parking lot to get the delegates properly set up. And 10 cops showed up and arrested these two men and even a helicopter. This is what the ABC News was, and they were painting Ron Paul fans who looked like they were crazy. It's like, no, they just want a fair election. This is going on all over the country. We talked Watch the Vote people yesterday, and so there is great opposition towards Ron Paul from the GOP. It's just unbelievable.
Well, yeah, I know we're following the rules, but that's breaking the rules, which is amazing to me. These people, again, like I was saying about my little rant, whoever it is that's running these caucuses and doing these things, they need to have the media showing up to their house with cameras on them, all over them. Like, why are you doing this? What's going on? Embarrass them. Their names need to be household names, but they're not. Unfortunately, we're the ones that are supposedly crazy. We're the ones that causing a problem, causing a ruckus. We're trying to have a takeover. All of a sudden, like we're some gang or something. It's amazing. But I do want to jump into your book more on what we were talking about yesterday, because I think it is really important. Since I talked to you, this is really, really important to me, because I just have something against this voter fraud that just drives me crazy. And I know you're the author of The Hidden Fourth Branch. I want to tell everybody to check that out on YouTube. If you haven't, you can just go in the search engine. I have it in front of me, actually. Just type in Hidden Fourth Branch, and he is the first video to come up. And so, Kelly, if you can give a little breakdown about your video real quickly about the Hidden Fourth Branch and what it is that we're trying to do.
Well, yeah, when you YouTube it, Google search, Yahoo search, it comes up number one. It's Hidden Fourth Branch, the number 4th, Hidden Fourth Branch. The YouTube video is about a 6.5-minute summary of the power of the grand jury. That's what the whole book is about, the fourth branch of government. I didn't make that idea up. The fourth branch, the coining of the phrase fourth branch came from Leo D'Onofrio, an attorney from New Jersey, who did a brilliant legal dissertation. And that name, fourth branch, was also confirmed by distinguished professor of law Susan Brenner. The fourth branch is, it was in existence long before the Constitution, the grand jury. And basically what the grand jury is, it's your friends and neighbors that have enormous power to investigate the government. This came to us through the Magna Carta, and in like 1683, not 17, not 1800, but 1683, all 13 colonies had a grand jury. And they started out, of course, looking into government problems, but also they could handle street criminals and indict street criminals. But if you had a complaint, you can go directly to a grand jury. Now, this power still exists today. It's just 9 out of 10 people don't know about it. Even attorneys, when I was doing my research, I was asking people, attorneys, and they said, well, go talk to this attorney, that attorney. And so I had to just spend an awful lot more time. But the grand jury is phenomenally powerful. And here's a quote from the Chief Justice of the Arizona Supreme Court describing its powers. A county grand jury is responsible for investigating possible public offenses, including corrupt or willful misconduct in office by public officials, and return a criminal indictment or true bill formally accusing someone of the crime. State powers are the same, except they extend statewide. So this is a modern day. She's right now the Chief Justice, Rebecca White Birch of Arizona. And the good news is you can go ahead and submit a complaint to a grand jury. There's several avenues that you have to do this, and that's described in the video quick. And it gets even more exciting because right now the American people are pretty upset with the government, NDAA, SOPA, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
And we have a way to get complaints, even under petition for redress of grievance. That's the First Amendment. We can go to a judge if we have to. In California, the Penal Code says the judge shall convene a grand jury when in the best interest of the public. That's BC 904. And here's another confirmation of the power of the grand jury. Supreme Court Justice Robert Hual Jackson wrote in 1950, the grand jury can investigate merely on suspicion that the law is being violated, or even just because it wants assurance that it is not. And with election fraud, we're going to talk a little bit more about an action plan. But if your friends and neighbors want assurance that the law is not being violated, the Supreme Court has basically authorized, yeah, you can go ahead and do some things.
And just so everybody's clear that they know that's listening, that this is what we're trying to use so we can subpoena to get the primary votes, correct? The actual votes that we don't get to see, that we don't get to look at. We just have to trust that they're telling us the right numbers.
Yeah, I mean, the election, hacking democracy, that is a great, you can YouTube that one. There's short 5 minutes. You can watch the whole hour and a half. It was an HBO special. Bev Harris did it. Bev Harris is the one who approached the Secretary of State, Kevin Shelley, in 2004 and said, hey, these machines are bad. They're not very secure. They're problems. Well, Kevin Shelley was convinced enough. He pulled the DeBolt machines out of several counties in California, and 2 million votes had to be counted by hand. And of course, we're fixing the problem. We're solving it. And yeah, DeBolt was bought by ES&S. That's how they fixed it. And it just so happens ES&S and DeBolt company, they're brothers. Okay, so a little sleight of hand there. So what we can do with the grand jury for the elections is to submit a complaint to the grand jury asking to issue a subpoena upon all voters walking into the precincts. Here's how this is going to work practically. You walk in, you're given a piece of paper. So what's this? It's a duplicate vote. You look on it, it's got 4 names, which are just the president's candidates. It's simple. You circle it, you put it into this locked box. That locked box goes to the county grand jury. They get it, and then they can compare that to the electronic voting. So you're voting twice, a simple regular piece of paper, locked box to grand jury, and then the second time you go and you do your ballot thing.
So we can compare it to what we're being told, because I guarantee you in some of these states, if they were to see the actual votes, Ron Paul is not going to be at no 5 or 6%. I refuse to believe that.
Well, yeah, it's getting enough delegates. It looks like he's got.
Okay, hold on, Kelly. I don't want to cut you off, but we're about to go to a break, so just sit tight and we'll continue when we come back.
Defending liberty.
Beg your vote for him, Lord, next year.
This is radio for the revolution at RonPaulRadio.com.
What's going on, everybody? We're back. You're listening to Occupy the Media. I'm your host, Paco. We're speaking to Kelly from Watch the Vote. Now, Kelly, before I let you take off from where you were at, real quickly, for those people that are listening and they want to get in contact with you or Watch the Vote or purchase your book, can you tell them where they can get that info at?
Yeah, well, I'm on Facebook, Kelly Z. Mordecai. You just Google search Hidden Fourth